This tech job market is the worst of our generation. To call this job market a mess can even seem a little like an understatement. But despite these eerie figures, there are still plenty of work opportunities. The issue is that the formula for getting a job has changed. What worked in the previous decade no longer works today. However, many job seekers are stuck applying for work the old way. In this video, I explain a proactive approach to job searching that puts you in the driver's seat for generating new interview opportunities, even with little experience. I'll break down the approach step by step. This way, you can copy and use it to gain your next interview opportunity. But why should you listen to me? I'm a professional software engineer who has been hired multiple times and experienced several layoffs throughout my career. I use this experience and my research to coach technologists and help them achieve career success even in a chaotic market. Everything I tell you in this video has either worked for me or one of my students in today's job market. Furthermore, I do this work to feed my family and to serve you. This process I'm teaching you is not a straitjacket, it's a starting point. If you find a new way of doing things that surpass what I share here, please comment about it and help your fellow job seekers out. If all that sounds good to you, please subscribe and continue watching. Nothing in the rest of this video will work well if you don't have these fundamental pieces to your job hunting process. I've had people approach me before asking for help on how to land a job and more specifically interviews for tech roles. They commonly face the problem of submitting multiple applications for months at a time with little to no results. Additionally, the job search process, regardless of approach, is naturally grueling. Bots overrun job boards like LinkedIn and the talent pool is hyper competitive. Some notable thorns include ghost jobs, drawn-out interview processes, and apathetic recruiting personnel. It's a big, hairy jungle of fecal matter. Either way, what I'm saying is that the job market is already hard enough. If your fundamentals are off too, then you're making a critical error that costs you your time, effort, and in some cases, money. These fundamentals are tangible materials that every technologist should possess. I'm specifically going to focus on software engineers, but if you're not an engineer, find out what these fundamentals are for your role. My guess is that they will be pretty similar. If you're serious about getting work, make sure you have a outstanding resume, portfolio, LinkedIn, and GitHub. I'd go over each of these materials in detail, but YouTube is already swelling with these tips. A rule of thumb, however, is to identify the most successful people in your field and strive to surpass the quality in each of the materials I listed. When applying for jobs, have you ever found yourself sitting in front of your computer, feeling burned out and on the brink of giving up? This frustration arises because the old way of applying is essentially obsolete, yet many people are still unaware of it. No more spam, easy apply, no more apply, wait, and see. So what is the new way? First, this may sound like common sense, but often job opportunities are reduced to the amount of compensation they offer. I'm all about you getting paid, but I'm also equally about you enjoying your career and reducing the dread that comes with working a job that you don't like. Simply put, only apply for jobs that are a good fit for you and your needs. Gauging your skill set for your job is a separate topic. I'm more talking about lifestyle fit. Take a look at work arrangements like remote or in office. You can also look at company size, benefits, and only apply if you think there's a reasonable chance you'll enjoy working there. I've personally made the mistake of taking a job just because it pays well or out of desperation without considering these other factors. As a result, this situation has commonly led to early termination as I'm not a good fit, or it's resulted in apathy because I'm working at a job that doesn't inspire me. Moreover, focusing on applying only to jobs that you actually like will prevent the burnout that comes with mass applying across months. This is because if you like the opportunity, you'll naturally be more incentivized to submit a better application. Additionally, you'll submit fewer applications overall, as not every opportunity will be worth pursuing according to your preferences. Yes, I'm telling you to apply for fewer jobs. However, what you lose in quantity, you gain in quality. Each application you send should be nearly handwritten and highly detailed to each specific employer. This means your cover letter, resume, and any questionnaires reflect top-tier professionalism. A standard to help guide you is to make sure your application removes any doubt in the mind of your employer that you are perfect for the job. Now, there is considerable online skepticism about AI from both the job application and recruitment sides. To overcome this obstacle, I recommend two methods. First, apply for work within small companies with 1 to 100 employees, as this eliminates the likelihood of an ATS system being used. Second, to help smaller companies verify that you're not an AI, send them a pre-recorded video link. I use Loom. And introduce yourself, showing them your portfolio and or answering questions from the job post itself. A bonus is that these video links often make you seem more professional and extremely proactive, which increases an employer's trust in you and can incentivize them to bring you on for an interview. Once you've submitted your job application, you're going to add this job post to what I like to call a lead list. I'll talk more about this specific list in the next step. Completed job applications are not just job applications, they are leads. If that line sounds weird to you, as a tech professional, then you're precisely the guy that this video is for. According to Investopedia, a sales lead is a person or business entity that may become a client or customer but isn't one now. What do sales and leads have to do with getting a job? Everything. If you frame every job application that you complete as a lead or potential customer and client, both of these being metaphors for an employer, you'll get much more out of every opportunity. In this case, as a job applicant or salesperson, the service you provide is the skill set of a tech professional. To complete a sale, in your case, get a job, or at least a touch point, aka an interview, you'll want first to create a list of job applications you've completed. This is what is known as the lead list. Once you've compiled your lead list or list of jobs that you've applied to, go through each one. Find the person responsible for the job post and reach out to them. The person who commonly sets up a post can range anywhere from a hiring manager, a team lead, or an in-house recruiter. Sometimes, even the founders will post jobs if the company is small enough. So how do you contact them? The meta answer is any way possible, but the more practical answer is to knock, call, DM, and ask. If you're curious, this concept was initially inspired by Alex Hermosi's expertise in lead generation, and in part by an old mentor of mine. Either way, attempt to connect with the person responsible for the job post until they reject you. If they repeatedly miss your call, send them an email. If they miss your email, send them a direct message. If the company is small and local, consider visiting them in person. Then repeat this until you're speaking to the person responsible for the job post. If you don't know what to say, ask about the status of your submitted application. Contacting the job poster will make you look proactive, and as an applicant, you took the time to apply for the job, so they at least owe you an answer. At most, because you're essentially pushing them to expedite the review of your application, you may, if you have followed my advice about making a stellar application, get an interview. Let's go. At worst, you'll receive a rejection, typically a soft one, with a contact you can attempt to reach out to anytime you see a new job opening for that specific company. I saw this method work for 2 of my students. After months of making no progress, each student increased their total number of interviews. For context, these students are self-taught programmers without a computer science degree or bootcamp experience. One student called an employer for a job post that had received over 400 applications. Because he called inquiring about his application, he was given an interview over the 400 other people in the line. When you should call them varies widely depending on the context and nature of your interaction with your leads. For reference, the student I just mentioned in the previous example calls the day after he applies. Still, I recommend trusting your gut when it comes to timing. If you sense an aversion to this method of getting a job, is it because you secretly fear interacting with people? I know this was my biggest blocker, and I've seen it be the same for others as well. A big draw for me to become a software engineer was that, frankly, I would deal less with others, which I know is a bit ironic considering the actual nature of the job. What I'm saying is that internally, I'm more of a quiet guy. I tend to get overstimulated easily and prefer to spend most of my days working on things in a low-key manner. So being proactive and contacting leads can sometimes feel daunting, if not nerve-wracking. But think about this as well. Right now, you're either stuck in a job you need to get out of, or you're out of work. In either case, you'll likely continue to be stuck until you take action. And although I'd argue the process I've laid out for getting a job interview here is pretty simple, your fear of reaching out, your fear of being rejected, your fear of the unknown can keep you stuck. Okay, so let's assume you decide to start reaching out. If you've never done it before, you'll suck at contacting your leads. That's normal. Success in this process is built on practice and time. At first, you may not be perfect, but with time and practice, you'll gain a degree of competence. It worked for 2 of my students, and despite having no degree or bootcamp experience, as I've said, they're landing interviews. What I'm saying is that if you consistently practice and work at improving your approach, you'll eventually reap the benefits of your labor and land interviews. Extra tip here, creating a sales script you can reference and improve is very helpful. Second, do not think inside a box. If you notice that your direct messages, DMs, receive more attention, then shift your strategy. If you see people react to your writing, then perhaps email is your best approach. In other words, play the game close to the ground and trust your gut for game time decisions, such as when to contact a client or when you've been too pushy. Ultimately, the purest form of the strategy is to do whatever it takes to secure an interview. This framework is a guidepost to get the ball rolling. Once you start applying and hitting the list consistently, pay attention to every single action that works. Carefully think about what steps you took to get an interview or to get the employer to respond to you. Then write those steps down and repeat them. On the other hand, analyze what parts of your approach aren't working and stop doing those things. If you just listened to what I said and concluded that I'm telling you to do more of what works and to do less of what doesn't, then you're paying attention. Ultimately, when you complete this process and then focus on improving each action that works, every subsequent action yields a higher return on your time and your effort. Why? Because you're focusing your energy on the right stuff and you stop wasting your time and your energy on the wrong stuff. Now, all the tips that I gave you in this video mean nothing if you forget them. Hopefully you're taking notes, but in case you weren't, I've got you covered. And yes, I did change clothes. Either way, I created a simple 1-page guide that outlines each of the steps I talked about in this video. This guide not only serves as a reminder of what you learned today, but it also helps you identify where the most significant weak points are in your pursuit of more job interviews. The guide is free as a gift to you. If you think it can help you, please click the link in the description, sign up with your email, and get instant access. Otherwise, would you like a deeper look at what's happening in the job market right now? If so, please make sure to watch this video right here.